Every morning, as the light of dawn filters softly through your window, ask yourself, what will I choose to tell my mind today? The first thoughts you allow into your consciousness are like seeds planted in the soil of your being. What grows from them will shape the course of your day, your choices, and your peace. The Stoics knew this. They understood that the quality of our inner dialogue determines whether we are slaves to fortune or masters of ourselves. So, what 5 lines will you speak each morning to guard your soul against the chaos of the world? Imagine standing at the edge of the day, as if it were an undiscovered country. The path before you is unknown, but your mind is yours to command. The Stoic practice begins here, not in grand gestures, but in quiet, deliberate preparation. Before you rise, before you step into the noise and demand of life, speak to yourself with clarity. Speak with purpose. Remind yourself of what truly matters. Could it be that these simple lines, repeated daily, would fortify you more than any armor? I will face today with courage. This is the first line. Say it softly or say it firmly. But say it. Life does not promise ease. The world offers uncertainty, pain, and joy in equal measure. To wake each morning and choose courage is to declare that no matter what awaits insult or praise, loss or gain, you will meet it with steady resolve. Is it not true that we fear not the event itself, but our imagined weakness in facing it? Yet, as the Stoics remind us, no misfortune is so great that it cannot be borne by a courageous heart. Next, whisper, I will choose virtue over comfort. The pleasures of the body, the ease of idleness, the lure of approval, these are sweet traps that ensnare the unwary. But each morning, when you resolve to favor what is good over what is easy, you sharpen your character. Comfort may soothe for a moment, but virtue builds a life of enduring worth. Do you not feel even now the difference between fleeting pleasure and the quiet strength of acting rightly? Each day, the choice is yours. Will you lean toward what is effortless, or will you, like the Stoics, take the harder path that leads to true freedom? Then, remind yourself, I will accept what I cannot control. How much suffering is born from resistance to what is? The Stoic mind is a mind trained in consent, not to injustice, but to reality. The rains will fall, whether we will them or not. The winds will blow cold. A lot of people will praise, and people will scorn. These are beyond our reach. But what is always within reach is our response. Acceptance is not surrender.
Act.
It is the beginning of wisdom. When you say this line each morning, you prepare your mind to meet fortune with grace rather than complaint. Is this not the greatest power, to be unshaken by what lies outside your command? The 4th line is this, I will act with justice. How easy it is to focus on our own struggles, our own fears, our own desires. Yet each day we are part of the great fabric of humanity. Our words, our deeds, our silences, all of these touch others. Justice is not an abstract concept for the Stoic. It is the daily practice of fairness, compassion, and truth. When you speak this line, you remind yourself that virtue is incomplete without concern for others. Can we truly call ourselves free if we live only for ourselves? The Stoics would say no. True freedom is the freedom to do what is right, regardless of cost. Finally, say to yourself, I will remember that I am mortal. The morning light is a gift, but not a promise. We rise each day as if life were endless, as if we could postpone virtue, postpone love, postpone purpose. But the Stoics teach us to hold death as a companion, not as a threat. When you speak this line, you awaken to the urgency of living rightly. What excuse remains for delay when you know that this day may be your last? The awareness of mortality is not meant to frighten, but to focus. It clears the mind of trivialities and fills the heart with resolve. Each of these lines is simple, and yet together they form a shield against the storms of existence. Say them, mean them, live them.
I'll let these morning words be the quiet ritual
that aligns you with the Stoic path. A path not of grand declarations, but of steady, daily practice. And as the day unfolds and challenges arise, you will find that these lines echo within you, guiding, steadying, reminding. What greater gift can we give ourselves at dawn than the commitment to live with courage, virtue, acceptance, justice, and the awareness of our fleeting mortality? As the sun climbs higher and the world stirs awake, consider this. What would your life look like if, each day, you truly lived these words? How would your mind change, your relationships deepen, your fears lessen? The Stoic morning is not a time of idle reflection, but of preparation for battle. The battle for your mind, your choices, your peace. Speak these lines not as empty phrases, but as vows. The world is uncertain, but you, with these words, can be certain of your path. The dawn breaks, and with it comes a choice. Will you command your mind, or will you let the world command it for you? The Stoic understood that the first moments of the day are sacred. They are the foundation upon which the rest of your hours will stand. Consider, when you awaken, your mind is pliable, open, waiting for instruction. What do you feed it? Anxieties about the tasks ahead? Regrets about yesterday? Or do you begin like the wise, with a deliberate orientation toward what is good and right? When you speak those 5 lines, you are not merely reciting words. You're reminding yourself of your role in the universe, are as it were a part of the great order of things, a fragment of the whole. The Stoics saw this clearly. He taught that we are actors in a play written by another. We do not choose our lines, but we choose how we perform them. Each morning, then, is your rehearsal. How will you play your part today? With grace or with complaint? With courage or with fear? Let us linger on that first line again. I will. Face today with courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the mastery of it. The Stoics knew fear well. Fear of loss, fear of pain, fear of death. But they also knew that fear gains power only when we submit to it. Picture yourself standing at the threshold of the day. The unknown stretches before you. You can tremble or you can step forward. What will you choose? The Stoic chooses to act despite fear. In doing so, the fear begins to dissolve. When you choose virtue over comfort, you are choosing to be fully alive. Comfort deadens the spirit, lulls us into a false sense of security, making us forget the brevity of life. But virtue awakens. It demands effort, attention, sacrifice. And yet, what is life without these? Easy path leads nowhere worth going. Hard path, a path of virtue, leads to the heights of the soul. Do you not feel this truth, even now, stirring within you? Acceptance of what we cannot control is perhaps the hardest lesson. How often do we rage against fate, against others, against events that pay no heed to our will, and yet rage changes nothing. The Stoic learns to say, let what will happen, happen. My task is not to shape the world, but to shape my response. There is peace in this. Imagine a stone in the river. The waters rush around it, but it remains unmoved. You too can be that stone. But only if each morning you remind yourself of this line and live by it. Acting with justice means seeing beyond yourself. It means recognizing that your actions ripple outward, touching lives you may never know. When you say this line each morning, you are pledging to be a good citizen of the world, a bearer of fairness and decency. The Stoics believed that we are. All parts of one body. To harm another is to harm yourself. To help another is to strengthen the whole. Injustice begins in small things. A harsh word, a selfish act. So too does justice. Begin small. Begin today. And when you speak of mortality, do not shudder. Welcome the reminder. Each day is a gift because each day might be the last. This knowledge frees you, strips away pretense, pettiness, procrastination. That excuse remains. Knowing that death walks beside you. None. Live then. Live with all the clarity and purpose you can summon. Let this awareness infuse your day with meaning. What would happen if you made this morning practice a lifelong habit? Would you not become calmer, stronger, wiser? The Stoics did not seek to escape life's trials. They sought to meet them well. And so can you, if you begin each day with words that anchor you in what is true, what is enduring, what is noble. The world will test you. But with these 5 lines, you will be ready. When you open your eyes each morning, you are at a crossroads. The quiet before the world's demands descend is yours alone. It is here, in this stillness, that you either forge your armor for the day ahead or leave your mind exposed to the arrows of chance. The Stoic practice of morning reflection is no empty ritual. It is an act of self-command, a declaration that you will live today with intention. 5 lines, 5 anchors to hold you steady. In speaking them, you shape not just your day, but your very character. I will face today with courage. Consider what this truly means. Courage is not loud. It does not boast. It does not demand applause. Courage is quiet. It is the strength to rise when you would rather stay down. It is the will to speak the truth when silence would be safer. It is the choice to act rightly, even when fear whispers that it would be easier to look away. Each day presents countless moments where courage is needed in conversation, in decisions, in how we bear pain and uncertainty. And so in the morning, we remind ourselves, I will be brave today, not because I am without fear, but because fear will not rule me. I will choose virtue over comfort. Think of the small comforts that tempt us from the path of growth. The comfort of blaming others instead of examining ourselves. The comfort of distraction instead of reflection. The comfort of anger instead of understanding. Virtue asks more of us. It asks us to endure discomfort in service of what is right. It asks us to train our minds as an athlete trains the body with discipline, with persistence, with sacrifice. Is it not worth a little discomfort to become the person you admire? And if not now, then when? I will accept what I cannot control. How much of our suffering comes not from events themselves, but from our refusal to accept them. The Stoics teach us that events are indifferent. It is our judgments that disturb us. You may face loss today. You may face delay, disappointment, injustice. These are not yours to govern, but your mind is your kingdom. No tyrant, no accident, no misfortune can take that from you. Each morning, by speaking this line, you claim sovereignty over yourself. And what greater freedom is there than this? I will act with justice. What does justice look like in daily life? It looks like kindness when you are tempted to be harsh. It looks like fairness when it would benefit you to be unfair. It looks like listening when you long to speak. It looks like keeping your word when breaking it would be easier. The world does not need grand gestures of justice. It needs small, steady acts of decency. When you speak this line each morning, you set your intention to be a source of goodness in a world that sorely needs it. And is this not the highest purpose? To leave the world a little better for your presence? I will remember that I am mortal. Death is not an enemy. Death is a reminder that each day is precious, that each word spoken may be the last, that each choice matters. When you say this line each morning, you awaken to the truth that time is not promised. Much more clearly do we see what matters when we remember that the hourglass is running. Do not waste today in trivialities, in bitterness, in regret. Let the awareness of mortality sharpen your vision so that you live not someday. But now, as you rise and step into the day, these 5 lines remain with you. They are not meant to be recited and forgotten. They are meant to be lived. The Stoic. Morning is not a retreat from life. It is the preparation for living it fully. Let each line be a light to guide you through the fog of distraction, temptation, and fear. The world may be unpredictable, but you need not be. Your mind, your choices, your virtue, these are yours if you claim them. And so I ask you, what would your day look like if you truly lived by these words? How would your interactions change? How would your mind respond to difficulty? How would you carry yourself through triumph and trial alike? The Stoics knew that a well-ordered mind is the foundation of peace. These lines, simple, steady, true, are the stones upon which you can build that foundation. One morning at a time. What is the first sound you hear when you awaken? Is it the clamor of the world, the ping of messages, the hum of obligations, the murmur of worries? Or is it the sound of your own mind, calling you back to yourself? The Stoic morning is a reclaiming of that inner voice, before the noise of the day steals it away. 5 lines, 5 truths, spoken with intention, This is how we arm ourselves for what is to come. I will face today with courage. Courage is not a shield against hardship. It is the strength to endure it with dignity. Picture a tree in the storm. The wind bends it, rain lashes it, yet it stands. The Stoic mind is like this tree. The storm is not in your control. But your stance is. Morning, when you speak this line, you plant your roots deeper. You tell yourself, I will not be swept away by fear. I will not be broken by the unexpected. I will meet today as it comes with a steady heart. I will choose virtue over comfort. Comfort often asks us to shrink, to stay silent, to take the easy road, to turn away from challenge. But virtue asks us to grow. And growth, as you know, is rarely comfortable. Think of the moments when you chose the harder right over the easier wrong. Were you not stronger for it? Each morning, as you say this line, you remind yourself that ease is not the measure of a good life. Virtue is, and virtue is forged in the fire of effort. I will accept what I cannot control. How often we waste energy railing against what simply is. The Stoics taught that to fight reality is to wound ourselves. Imagine a sailor cursing the wind instead of adjusting the sails. Does the wind care? No, but the sailor suffers for his resistance, and so it is with us. Each morning, when you speak this line, you choose wisdom over futility. You choose to steer your mind even when the seas are rough. I will act with justice. Justice is not an abstract ideal for some distant philosopher to ponder. It is the daily practice of fairness, integrity, and kindness. It is seen in how you treat the stranger, the friend, the foe. Each morning, as you speak this line, you commit to being a force for good in the small moments, the moments that shape the world more than grand speeches ever could. I will remember that I am mortal. The Stoics did not meditate on death to darken the day, but to illuminate it. When you remember that your time is limited, you see what is truly valuable. The petty fades, the essential sharpens, each morning. This line calls you to live as if today were both a gift and a task, because it is. What will you do with it? These 5 lines are not magic. They will not banish hardship, but they will prepare you to meet hardship well. The Stoic morning practice is a quiet revolution, a turning of the mind from the outward to the inward, from the fleeting to the lasting, from the trivial to the true. Each day you begin anew. Each day you have the power to choose. And with these words, you choose wisely. Before the world claims your attention, before you are pulled into tasks, obligations, and distractions, you have a moment that is entirely your own. The Stoics understood the sacredness of this moment. They knew that the first thoughts of the day are like the first strokes on a blank canvas. They set the tone for everything that follows. What you speak to yourself upon waking is not mere habit. It is a declaration of who you are and who you choose to become. The 5 lines you speak each morning are not words for the air. They are words that shape your soul. I will face today with courage. Let this not be an empty phrase. Let it be a vow. Courage does not mean you will not feel fear. It means you will not let fear decide for you. It means you will rise when you fall, speak when silence would be easier, act when hesitation tempts you to wait. Picture a traveler crossing a mountain pass in winter, the wind fierce and cold. Does he curse the storm? No, he pulls his cloak tighter and presses on. So too must we each day. Life's trials will come, but we can meet them as that traveler meets the wind, steady, focused, undeterred. I will choose virtue over comfort. Comfort is the easy path, but the Stoic knows it often leads nowhere. Virtue is the difficult path, but it leads to greatness of soul. Every day offers us small tests. Will we act out of kindness or out of convenience? Will we speak the truth or what is easier to hear? Will we discipline our minds or let them drift? Comfort calls us to rest when we should move, to stay silent when we should speak, to take rather than give. But each morning, by speaking this line, you remind yourself that you are not here for ease. You are here to grow. And growth lives on the far side of effort. I will accept what I cannot control. Imagine a river that flows endlessly, heedless of our wishes. We can fight its current, exhaust ourselves against its force, Or we can learn to navigate its waters, adjusting our course to what is. The events of the day, the words of others, the turns of fortune, the unexpected troubles, are like that river. We do not command them, but we do command ourselves. When you speak this line, you release the burden of trying to bend the world to your will. Instead, you take up the true task, to master your response. There is peace in this. There is strength. I will act with justice. Justice is not grand speeches or lofty ideals alone. It is the choice, moment by moment, to treat others as we would wish to be treated. It is patience when impatience would be easier. It is generosity when we are tempted to withhold. It is honesty when falsehood would serve us better in the short term. Each morning, by speaking this line, you align yourself with something greater than self-interest. Align yourself with the common good, with the harmony of all things. What kind of world might we build if each of us began the day with this pledge? I will remember that I am mortal. The Stoic keeps death close, not out of morbidity, but out of wisdom. Death is not a distant threat. It is a reminder that time is precious, that each day is a gift not to be squandered. When you speak this line in the morning, you clear away the fog of trivial concerns. What argument is worth clinging to? What grudge is worth carrying? What joy is worth postponing? With mortality in mind, you live more deeply, more truly. You waste less, you love more. These 5 lines are a map guiding you through the uncertainties of the day. They do not shield you from misfortune. Do something greater. They prepare you to meet misfortune with dignity. The Stoic morning. Practice is a quiet act of rebellion against the chaos of the world. It is a choice to begin with intention, to choose your path before the world chooses it for you. As you rise, remember, the day is uncertain, but your mind can be steady. And it begins with the words you speak to yourself at dawn, the first breath you take upon waking is not just the beginning of a new day. It is the renewal of your chance to live wisely. The Stoics understood that each morning offers an opportunity to reset the mind, to align it with reason and virtue, to prepare it for whatever may come. This is why the morning ritual of speaking 5 lines to yourself is so powerful. It is not superstition. It is not empty tradition. It is the deliberate act of setting the course of your inner life before the outer world can steer you off track. I will face today with courage. How many times have you found yourself shrinking from what must be done? How many times have you postponed, avoided, retreated? The Stoic knows that courage is the cornerstone of all virtue. Without it, no other virtue can stand. Without courage, we cannot speak truth, we cannot act justly, we cannot accept fate. Each morning, when you speak this line, you awaken that spark within you that says, I will not be ruled by fear. Let it come the challenge, the hardship, the uncertainty. I will meet it. I will choose virtue over comfort. Consider the difference between a life of ease and a life of worth. The former is soft, but empty. The latter is demanding, but rich with meaning. The path of virtue is rarely the easy one. It asks you to forego short-term pleasure for long-term integrity. It asks you to labor where you might have rested, to speak where you might have been silent, to give where you might have kept. But what is comfort if it costs you your self-respect? When you speak this line each morning, you remind yourself that the difficult road is often the only one that leads to the summit. I will accept what I cannot control. Picture the archer who releases his arrow. His aim, his skill, these are his. But the wind, the target's movement, the final outcome, these are not. So too with us. We may strive, we may plan, we may act with all our strength. But the final result is beyond us. Each morning, in speaking this line, we free ourselves from the chains of anxiety over outcomes. We focus on what is ours, our intent, our effort, our virtue. The rest is not ours and need not trouble us. I will act with justice.
Ow.
Justice is not a matter of grand pronouncements. It is found in the small choices. To listen instead of dismiss, to forgive instead of resent, to help instead of harm. It is the steady commitment to fairness in word and deed. When you speak this line each morning, you orient yourself toward the good of all, not just the good of self. The Stoics taught that we are threads in the same tapestry. To tear at another is to weaken the whole. And so each day we pledge anew. I will do my part to weave harmony. I will remember that I am mortal. Mortality is not a curse, but a compass. It points us toward what matters. When you remember that your time is limited, you waste less of it on what does not serve your soul. Petty concerns fall away. True priorities rise to the surface. Each morning, this line clears your vision, sharpens your purpose. Today is not to be squandered. Today is to be lived fully, wisely, bravely. And so with these 5 lines, you set out into the day. The Stoics did not seek to control the world. They sought to control themselves. And in doing so, they found the only true freedom. Let your morning words be a reminder of that freedom. Let them guide you through the storm, the sunshine, the ordinary, and the extraordinary alike. The world is ever-changing. The mind trained in Stoic wisdom is steadfast. The dawn's first light falls softly upon your face, and with it comes the invitation to begin again. Each day is a blank page, and the words you choose to write upon it at sunrise shape what follows. The Stoics knew that mastery of the self begins not in grand actions, but in quiet moments of reflection, when the world is still and the mind is open. These 5 lines, simple, steady, profound, are the tools with which you carve the shape of your day. Speak them not as habit, but as promise. I will face today with courage. Courage is not a rare, dramatic act. It is the steady choice to meet each moment as it comes. It is the decision to act with integrity, even when no one is watching. It is the inner strength to endure discomfort, difficulty, and doubt without surrendering to them. Picture a traveler who walks through storm and sun alike, whose pace does not falter no matter how rough the path. This is the image of courage. Each morning, remind yourself, I too will walk steadily, no matter what the day brings. I will choose virtue over comfort. Comfort lures us with soft words. Rest a little longer, speak a little less truth, take a little more than your share. But virtue calls us to rise, to act, to give. It asks for effort, for sacrifice, for vigilance. Yet what reward is greater than knowing you chose what was right over what was easy? The Stoics taught that true happiness is found not in comfort, but in living in harmony with reason and virtue. When you speak this line each morning, you pledge yourself to that higher path. I will accept what I cannot control. How much peace we might find if only we ceased our struggle against the unchangeable. The sun rises and sets without our command. The tides ebb and flow, the seasons turn, fortune gives and takes, all beyond our power. What remains within? Our grasp is how we meet these changes. Will we rail against fate, or will we align ourselves with it? The Stoic chooses alignment. Each morning, in speaking this line, you lay down the burden of resistance and lift up the gift of acceptance. I will act with justice. Justice is not a distant ideal to be admired. It is a daily practice, shaped by the small choices we make and how we treat others. It is in the word we choose to speak, the help we choose to give, the wrong we choose to right. Each day, justice calls us to remember that we are not isolated beings, but parts of a greater whole. When you speak this line each morning, you remind yourself that to act justly is to live in accordance with nature's design, where each part serves the good of the whole. I will remember that I am mortal. Death is not the end we dread. It is the teacher we need. It reminds us that time is finite, that life is fragile, that each day is a treasure not to be squandered. The Stoic does not turn from this truth, but embraces it. Each morning, in speaking this line, you sharpen your awareness of what matters. Clear away distraction, triviality, and delay. You choose to live this day fully and rightly, as if it might be your last, because one day it will be. These 5 lines form the foundation of a life well lived. They are not a shield against hardship, but a compass for the soul. They do not prevent storms, but they guide you through them. Each morning, as you speak them, you build the strength to meet the world with serenity and purpose. And so I ask you, if not now, when? If not these words, what? The time to begin is today, As the first light of day touches the earth, so too does it touch your mind, awakening it to possibility, to challenge, to choice. The Stoic morning is not a mere routine. It is the deliberate shaping of thought, the quiet forging of resilience before the noise of the world can intrude. When you speak these 5 lines at dawn, you are not simply preparing for the hours ahead. You are shaping the very fabric of your character. Each line is a thread in the tapestry of who you are becoming. I will face today with courage. Courage does not wait for grand trials or dramatic moments. It is needed in the small, everyday decisions. To speak when you fear being judged, to begin when you fear failure, to endure when you fear pain. The Stoic teaches that fear loses its grip when we choose to act in spite of it. Each morning, when you speak this line, you remind yourself that bravery is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it, and that mastery is won day by day, choice by choice. I will choose virtue over comfort. Comfort is easy, but it dulls the spirit. Virtue is hard, but it sharpens the soul. Consider the difference between a life spent seeking ease and a life spent seeking excellence. The first may be pleasant, but shallow. The second is demanding, but rich in meaning. Each morning, in speaking this line, you set your intention to seek what is right, not what is easy. And in doing so, you walk the path of true fulfillment. I will accept what I cannot control. Imagine standing at the shore watching the waves crash upon the rocks. You cannot stop them. You cannot command the sea. But you can choose how you stand. Will you curse the tide, or will you admire its power and accept its rhythm? The Stoic chooses the latter. Each morning when you speak this line, you train your mind to release what it cannot hold, and to find peace in that release. I will act with justice. Justice is not a grand ideal for distant rulers and philosophers alone. It is the small, daily practice of fairness, of kindness, of honesty. It is how we speak to a friend, how we help a stranger, how we choose what is right even when no one sees. Each morning, in speaking this line, you remind yourself that the measure of a life is found not in wealth or fame, but in the goodness we offer to others. I will remember that I am mortal. Death is the great clarifier. It strips away what is trivial and reveals what is essential. When you remember that your time is limited, you waste less of it on what does not matter. Each morning when you speak this line, you awaken to the urgency of living well, here and now. You are reminded that today is not a rehearsal, but the main act, and you must play your part with all the grace and strength you can summon. Let these 5 lines be your morning gift to yourself. They are not magic words. They will not shield you from difficulty, but they will prepare you to meet difficulty with honor. The Stoic morning is a quiet, powerful act of self-discipline, a reminder that while you do not command the world, you do command your mind. With that command comes true freedom. The first light of morning does more than signal the start of a new day. It offers a sacred pause, a moment before the rush begins, a space where you can choose who you will be. The Stoics cherish this space. They saw in it the chance to align thought with virtue, to arm the mind before the trials of the day could unseat its balance. The 5 lines you speak at dawn are not decoration. They are the quiet architecture of a resilient life. Speak them not with haste, but with the gravity they deserve. I will face today with courage. There is no day without challenge. There is no life without risk. And yet, how often do we let fear dictate our choices? The Stoic understands that fear will always whisper, but we need not obey. Courage is the decision to act according to reason, not terror. It is the choice to keep going when doubt shadows your path. It is the strength to do what is right, even when the cost is high. Each morning, in speaking this line, you declare that fear may exist, but it will not rule. The day may bring trial, but you will not flinch. I will choose virtue over comfort. Comfort is a seduction. It promises ease, but delivers emptiness. It lures with softness, but dulls the edge of the soul. Virtue demands effort. It asks you to rise when you would rest, to give when you would keep, to speak when you would stay silent. But in that effort lies joy, the deep, steady joy of knowing you lived according to what is good. Each morning, by speaking this line, you remind yourself that the easy path is often the hollow one, while the hard path is where meaning dwells. I will accept what I cannot control. The Stoic morning practice is a reminder of where your power ends and begins. The world will unfold as it will. People will praise or scorn. Fortune will smile or frown. Events will go as they must. These are beyond you. Is your judgment, your choices, your response? Imagine the sailor who cannot command the wind, but can trim the sail. Each morning this line teaches you to waste no energy cursing what is, but to devote all strength to what can be your own virtue. I will act with justice. Justice is the quiet thread that weaves us into the fabric of humanity. It is seen in small acts, a kind word, a fair decision, a helping hand. It is not abstract. It is not distant. It lives in the daily practice of decency. The Stoic does not seek to bend others to his will, but to live in harmony with them as parts of the same whole. Each morning, in speaking this line, you commit yourself to being a good part, to strengthening the whole, to serving the common good, to leaving the world no worse for your presence. I will remember that I am mortal. Death is not the enemy. It is the reminder that makes life vivid. It tells you that there is no time for pettiness, no space for delay. It invites you to live now, fully, rightly. The Stoic keeps this truth close, not out of dread, but out of wisdom. Each morning, by speaking this line, you clear the fog from your vision. You see what matters. You choose to waste no day. For if this day were your last, how would you live it? Let that question guide you. Let that awareness sharpen your purpose. And so, as the day begins, you stand not unprepared, but fortified. The 5 lines are not a charm to ward off misfortune. They are a compass to guide you through it. They remind you that while the world is uncertain, your mind can be steadfast. While events may be beyond you, your response is yours to shape. The Stoic morning is a gift, the gift of clarity, intention, resolve. Speak the lines. Live their meaning. Whatever the day brings, you will meet it with honor.